Hello, everybody. It's been a long time coming. We are here back with another Roma Press live stream. So settle in. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this Roma Press live stream that, happens to take place in the midst of a really, really challenging season for the Giallorossi. It's one of the worst starts that we've ever had, one of the worst starts that we've experienced in Roma's history. It's one of the worst starts that we've had in the entire history of the club, and more specifically, the worst start since 1979. So this has been quite bad, and I'm here back with this live stream in order to try and discuss what went wrong. Where are we right now? What are we looking at? Because, mind you, Roma are on their third manager. Uh, Early on in the season, I was making a joke, and I mentioned that we might be following in Napoli's footsteps last season. So that was definitely uh, the joke that ended up biting me in the behind, and biting all of us in the behind, because that's exactly where we're at right now, and we are doing even worse than Napoli last season. So hi, Peter, welcome back to this live stream. Thank you. It's good to have you in the comments. I know it's been a long time. I just felt like, the last live stream I did was when when Daniele De Rossi was sacked, and for some reason that was sort of the 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 lowest it felt like it can get. Right? Yes, Peter, you're asking if Roma hit rock bottom, and I do think that when I did that live stream, the ambience, the atmosphere, the energy in that live stream was so low, and tension was at an all-time high. It I just felt like maybe I needed to take a bit of a step back. I also felt like perhaps these live streams, they're meant to very often to just trade ideas, and try to cope with what Roma are serving us. And all of a sudden, I found myself that Roma, performing so badly week in, week out. I thought to myself, well, I'm already recording 2 episodes a week with John, and I thought perhaps, going into a live stream and yeah, and just talking out of my backside, talking about something that we're all seeing, and we can all see how bad it is. What am I going to contribute to this? So I thought I thank you so much for setting a notification. Hi, Vincent. I just wanted to say I appreciate the support that you guys always show in these live streams, and so forgive me if I took a bit of a break from this. I always enjoy it. I just felt like the moment wasn't quite right. I think we all have been feeling very low with regards to how Roma have been doing. This was supposed to be different. This was supposed to be a fresh start. This was supposed to be the team going into a new foreign direction. Something exciting was waiting for us, was supposed to be waiting for us at the end of the tunnel, and instead we got served some terrible performances. Above all, obviously, the 5-1 by Fiorentina, which sort of, really, I think, put an end not only to Ivan Juric's tenure, but clearly is a dent in the Friedkin's tenure as owners of Roma. So, hello, Francisco. Happy to see you on a nice therapy session. Yes. Hi, Michael. Thank you for following us from New York City. So, absolutely, if anyone's new to this chat, um, please subscribe to this channel. This is usually where you can get all the video episodes of the podcast, and where occasionally, if I have the mental strength to deal with Roma, in addition to the 2 episodes that we release per week, this is where you can find, my thoughts and my interactions with all of you guys. And I'm always eager to see, the differing views on the season. I think, whereas perhaps last season at this point, Jose Mourinho was still in charge. Uh, I believe we were already past that terrible performance against Genoa, and it kind of felt like the team wasn't really moving anywhere, right? It felt like we didn't know what to expect from this team. Well, Roma this season made it abundantly clear who they are. They made it abundantly clear that they got lost somewhere along the line. They got lost, and they needed Claudio Ranieri to get back and start slowly, timidly to play with some sort of belief. Not even a clear tactical idea, not even uh, passion per se, but believe that, hey, if we try hard enough, maybe we can get something out of this game. um, I said when De Rossi got sacked that we would be fortunate to finish in top half of the table, says Nicholas, because after sacking De Rossi, the CEO, Lina Soluku, dipped, meaning no long-term vision for the club. You know, I do think there is so much more to that story, Nicholas. I wanted to come back on this live stream, and sum up a bit what went on, and that's a good starting point, Nicholas, because it does feel like, something went on behind the scenes much earlier on. And John already hinted at this growing power of Lina Suluku, the former CEO. In the absence of a sporting director, Lina Suluku grew in power, became much more active in overseeing all of Roma's business, sponsorships, partnerships, stadium signings, talking with agents. In the absence of a sporting director, Linas Luku ran everything. And I do think that with the arrival of Florent Ghisolfi, some dynamics with Daniele De Rossi, things started to crumble behind the scenes during preseason, because I doubt that Lina Suluku stepped away from this job just purely because the fans wanted her out. I do not think that's how the Friedkins run the business here. The Friedkins have been very strong in their convictions, and that's why I find it quite compelling that they made the decision to bring back Claudio Ranieri at this point in the season, because it shows that once again they sort of backtracked, realized their mistake, and try to make up for with the addition of a coach that we all know and love, right? But definitely, it all starts somewhere along the lines of preseason. Florent Ghisolfi comes in. He has his idea, his vision, his contacts, his network. Perhaps, perhaps Lina Suluku, who had been the boss, was slowly but surely feeling that something is being taken away from her. I don't know how much truth there is to that. I don't know what her relationship with the Friedkins is right now, but I do think that there was a lot of tension behind the scenes that then sort of culminated in Daniele De Rossi getting sacked. That immediately put Roma's season, basically, at least their primary objectives, they were chopped in half, dead, gone, season over, from that point of view, because whatever you're gonna do next, it was always going to backfire. So, oh, Jay Macklin, ciao Andy, ciao Jay Macklin, good to see you. We got Vic, ciao Andy, did you brew your cup of mate for this one? No, just water. I'm sorry, I'm still not there yet in my Argentine spirit. I'm trying to trying to get back into it. Peter, what do you think is the ceiling under Ranieri? Well, that's also an interesting question, because the real question should be, what is the ceiling of this Roma? The ceiling of this Roma, I think we all agreed, was a good potential in the summer, regardless of what we think of additions of younger players such as Sangare or Dal, or players such as Saud, whom we don't really know. Uh, Overall, with Kone, with Dovbik, with Mats Hummels, on paper, that those are great deals. On paper, those are deals that make the difference. And I think nobody really can tell. That's the problem with this season, is nobody really can tell what the ceiling is. So Peter, I would like to say that the ceiling for this Roma under Ranieri is getting around somewhere along the sixth position in the table. Maybe go on a nice little run now in December when the schedule is quite accessible. Fight your way through it, right? Finally show that you're up to fighting, because that is what we were not seeing in the opening weeks and months of the season. Finally, we got treated to a bit of spirit, a bit of heart in the recent games against Napoli, Spurs, Atalanta. So that is my hope. But I do think that the ceiling is there, in the sense that as a collective, the ceiling is quite high. The problem is individually. If you notice, this team has never been on the same wavelength. As in, Dovbik is doing good, the whole rest of the team is doing badly. Nobody's serving him. Everybody's crap. We go through one of the worst stretches, right? And Solefe is doing good. The rest of the team is bad. Now the rest of the team is doing good, but Dovbik can't score. Dovbik is struggling. Dovbik is injured, right? And that's been going on and off. Nobody has been able to find continuity. We've talked about this with John. Who can name the players that have been consistently good for Roma, except for, I would say, Miles VR, right? Who has been consistently good? Manu Kone perhaps is the closest one to a player that's really shown promise and can aspire to great things despite this very difficult setting. I think Manu Kone can be a great player, and he's able to show that even in this horrendous context that involves him playing week in, week out with a different partner. He went from playing with Pisilli to playing with Lefe to playing with Cristante to playing with Leandro Paredes. It's always something different, but Kone has consistently been delivering. So I would say him. But who else? As in, everybody's going through moments. Pisilli went through a great moment. Now he's nowhere to be found. Baldanzi went through a great moment, and now he only played, 45 minutes with Ranieri? Lefe hasn't played a single minute. So we're watching this team, you know, build and then back to point zero, build and then back to point zero. And it's, I think that contributes to the feeling of deflation. When you watch this Roma team, it feels like they're always trying to do something, and you see them build and you see them build and you see them build, and then they make one mistake, like in the game against Atalanta, right? We keep up, and then one simple mistake, and Atalanta are on top, and that's it for Roma. Hoping that this will turn around soon. The gods of Lukaku and Zaniolo hurt the goals of Lukaku and Zaniolo hurt me more than that 5-1 Fiorentina loss. Yeah, guys, absolutely. Everything that could have gone wrong for Roma this season has gone wrong. Think about it. Arguably our most competent winger in the squad, Alexis Salzmakers, goes down in his second appearance with Roma uh, with a fractured ankle. Almost 3 months later, he's finally able to come back. And guess what? In 20 minutes against Spurs, he shows more than what Zaleski showed during Salmaker's absence. That's ridiculous, but it's the truth. Think about Daniele De Rossi being sacked on match day 4. Think about Ivan Juric coming into a difficult context, into a team that is potentially the biggest challenge of his career. At the worst moment in time, gets sacked after 12 games, right? Think about Mats Hummels, a guy who waits all summer long. There is even talk of him having undergone now the medical with Brighton in the summer, just to then decide to join Roma instead. Ends up sitting on the bench for months on end. So there's kind of Dovbik. Dovbyk, in my opinion, Dovbyk is the image of what went wrong with Roma. Dovbyk is a guy who was scoring left and right in La Liga, and at Roma, he still was able to come through with a really impressive goal tally, but you could see at what cost. At what cost? Physically, I mean, because right now Dovbyk is dead. Even Ranieri said, we don't know if we're going to have him for the match against Lecce, but that just goes to show the incredible toll, the incredible hardship that some of these players have been through. And we're only at the start of December. We are not even really halfway through the season. We're almost there, but not really. So, and we can tell tales, guys. We can tell stories about this. Again, the worst season since 1979. Let that sink in. Let me catch up with some comments. What do you think we should aim for the rest of the season? I think we should do the minimum the league, as we want to go to B to Serie B, but we can absolutely still win the Europa and still qualify for Champions League. Again, that's the absurdity of it, right? Is, first of all, we are near the relegation zone. Second of all, we can still turn everything around. But the question, as always, is can they do it? Ranieri seems pretty confident. Ranieri, as opposed to Juric, who I think Juric was confident that he could change something, perhaps in the first two games. Right? He wins Udinese, he wins Venezia. That's when he felt like things were happening for him. Unfortunately, it's it's not enough. It wasn't enough. He clearly saw that the team just slipped through his fingers. The team just mentally slipped through his fingers. They did not respond to him, and I think Ranieri obviously is a different manager. He's got a different level of authority around here. He has already been given a long-term task at the club, with him being named club executive, consultant, whatever you might call it, at the end of the season. Um, and at the same time, you know, can they turn it around? That's the question. We saw promising things in these last three games, but is it enough to erase everything that happened beforehand? Is it enough to start delivering results? Because at some point in time, you will have to start, first of all, scoring goals and winning, right? That's that. At some point in time, if you want to play a good football season, you will have to start doing that. And absolutely, I agree with Ranieri when he says December is the month of truth. We're playing Lecce, we're playing Como, we're playing Parma, we're playing Sampdoria and Coppa Italia. So it's it's right there for the taking. Right now, you are looking at potentially getting 9 points out of the next three games. When was the last time we could have said this about this team? Why can we even say it? Because the team has hinted that perhaps they've learned their lesson. Perhaps they have some awareness that they can get a result. But once again, nothing is predictable with Roma, and that's why we're here, and that's why we're undergoing this therapy session. For me, a good transfer window next month, says our good friend Il Carceriere Di Mauri, is three good signings and get rid of some of the dead weight in the squad, and we can still save the season. And I do think that that is exactly what the Friedkins are going to do. Part of this live stream was also supposed to be dedicated to the early rumors of the transfer window. Once again, Italian media are starting to build anticipation for January, build anticipation by declaring that it's going to be another revolution, that January will see a lot of players come and go. We are seeing names of Zaleschi, Hermoso, Dal, all linked with an exit. Shomurodov as well. There was even talk of, again, Leandro Paredes packing his bags, returning to Argentina and joining Boca Juniors, since he's got only a few months left until the end of his contract. So many names, and then new names on the market, because there is clearly something that needs to be done about the right back position, about a backup striker, because hey, we're going against Lecce, and who are we going to play instead of Dovbik if he can make it? Shomurodov, who Shomurodov, who is a player who remained at Roma by accident. Roma couldn't couldn't find a deal in the MLS in time for Shomurodov to lead. That's why he stayed, but he didn't want to stay. Roma didn't want to have him there. So we're talking constantly about question marks, but definitely the Friedkins have understood certain things. First of all, I do think that it's fascinating to watch Florent Ghisolfi now become the prominent speaker. As soon as Ivan Juric was gone, Ghisolfi started to talk. Because clearly the message was we we have to put someone out there. We can't just have you know dust collecting around the halls of Trigoria. We have to have someone in front of a microphone, someone speaking to the media. That is Florent Ghisolfi, and the man has given more interviews in the last couple of weeks than all summer long, where people were wondering, who is this new sporting director? What's his status at the club? Does he really have any power? Is he going to speak to us? Is he going to discuss the transfer window? Well, Florent Ghisolfi recently came out and gave a very lengthy interview to Corriere dello Sport about Roma wanting to be respected by the referees, that the days of referees wronging Roma should be over, because Roma have already lost games in which decisive episodes by Serie A official cost them points, right? So that is new. That is new. That is something that we hadn't seen even during the Jose Mourinho era. Thiago Pinto would occasionally come out and speak to the media before a match, usually in the Europa League, but not give lengthy interviews to a national newspaper about the state of refereeing. Ghisolfi even, he even referenced the final in Budapest and said something that was almost verbatim by something that I saw in so many comments over the last year and a half, 2 years, where everybody was blaming the Friedkins for being, too gentlemanly, too quiet, always taking the high ground, always moving on, never supporting Jose Mourinho for what happened in Budapest, all that stuff. And Ghisolfi said, well, they've learned their lesson. They now know that that is not the way of doing things. And I think that is very interesting that it's taking place right now. Perhaps we are really looking at a revolution at Roma, but not in the sense that the newspapers make it out to be. Sure, the Friedkins, according to Italian media, have already told Ranieri, listen, draw up your wish list for not for Christmas, but for January, and we shall see what we can do for you, and that they will definitely invest in the market, because they can clearly see that the team is struggling, that the team is incomplete, that the team perhaps in certain departments needs more quality, more depth. So that is, and that's been all over the newspapers in recent weeks. So that is something that is agreed upon by all members of the media. Even Filippo Biafora of Il Tempo, our good friend, whom I always like to reference as the go-to guy for Roma news, has said repeatedly that Claudio Ranieri right now is identifying the holes in the squad and drawing up a list, which he will then bring to Ghisolfi's attention and say, listen, I need 3 more players. I need a fullback. I need, whatever. But the point is, we are seeing Roma once again change shape in the middle of the season. Not ideal, but I'm already grateful that at least it's happening right now, that it's at least that it's happening. Because if Roma were immobile, if Roma were to choose not to do anything about the state of things, that would be an even a bigger problem. That was the problem that we all saw with Ivan Juric at the helm, was that Roma were not reacting, that the Friedkins were not taking action, and it was so unusual for them to just stand aside and watch this team burn. that we thought, hey, there's something wrong. And guess what? After 12 games, they got the message. They brought in Claudio Ranieri. And ever since then, things have been going very much in freaking fashion, as in a lot of talk about the future, a lot of talk about investments, a lot of talk about Ranieri being a more authoritative figure around the club and him playing a part in the club's future decisions. Now that's more like it. It's nothing yet. This is nothing. We haven't seen anything. I'm still yet to see this team score more than 2 goals. I don't know whether they can do it. I would hope so, and I would hope so that it happens soon. But right now, we're only talking about hypotheticals. We're talking about question marks. That's what Roma have been all season long so far. It's one big question mark, one big puzzle that has caused a major headache, not only for me and for John, who have to come on every 3 days to have to come up with something to say about yet another display where Roma come out and are empty-handed. But for everybody, it's been a huge headache. This season has been the worst season since we've started the podcast with John. It's we started in 2018. Eusebio Di Francesco's last season at the club. That was a mess of a season. That was quite messy, with Monchi walking away, Di Francesco sacked, uncertainty about the future, the Pallotta's waning days. I mean, that was clearly a very, very unstable time. But this is a new low. Hi, Andy. What are your thoughts on Bove's situation? I feel for him. It seems unlikely he'll be able to return to playing in Serie A. Rick, sorry for catching your question only now. Rick, the thing with Bove is scary. You know, when a 22-year-old collapses like that, it's scary, and it's quite shocking. I whenever we go on these databases for photos, to get photos of games, I was unfortunately I unfortunately stumbled upon a photo of a very detailed photo of Bove on the ground, and it was really, I wish I hadn't seen that, but that's how it goes. And it's unfortunate. There is a report by La Repubblica today that said that they're gonna perhaps implant a defibrillator in his heart to help it work better. And in that case, if that were to happen, because Bove apparently has already said yes to this, if that were to happen, yes, by law he cannot play in Italy. That's a huge blow to him, to us, to the national team. It also means that he can't play for the national team. He would have to look for for a career elsewhere. But that is secondary to the fact that a 22-year-old boy had to go through something like that, and a family of a 22-year-old had to go through something like that. That should never happen. How do you rate Baldanzi, and do you think he can play a bigger role at some point? Well, guys, I would love to answer questions about certain players. I would love to know who Matias Sule is. I don't know. That's the problem. We've had 3 managers. Baldanzi was good with Juric. Now he's only played 45 minutes with Ranieri, right? With De Rossi, he was still not really playing many minutes. He was still being mostly talked about as a solution, as a mezzala, but his best spell came with Juric. Well, Juric is gone. Ranieri's here. What can I make out of Baldanzi's contribution? Pisilli. Pisilli is given a chance to start for Daniele De Rossi against Juventus on match day 3. He does brilliantly. He starts for Roma more often with Juric. He scores a goal against Venezia and then fades away, is gone. As soon as the Juric tries him as a trequartista, Pisilli is outside of Roma's plans. Like, he's invisible on the pitch. He is benched more often, and I don't know who he is as a player. I don't know who Matias Sule is. It's really irritating because we don't have a clear idea. Enzo Lefe is being talked about as the biggest flop of the season. But in the few minutes that I've seen Enzo Lefe playing for Roma, I liked what I saw. Yes, he made a couple of mistakes after returning from that long injury that he had at the start of the season, but Enzo Lefe was good. Now he hasn't played a single minute under Ranieri. What does that mean? It's and I do think that, guys, if you do sort of like a bit of an exercise to think of again these performers who has been giving us consistently good performances. Even Evan Dika has a bit of a falling down in recent weeks. Miles VR, again, in my opinion, is just the one single guy, along with perhaps Manu Kone, whom you can argue that he's been Roma's rock. He's been the stable hand. Um, Otherwise, I'm out of answers here. Let's see. Many of our players have been consistently bad. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No, but really, if you think about sort of the changing of the hierarchies, players coming into the lineup, coming out. Again, Lefebvre, a consistent performer, consistent starter for Juric, now gone. Pellegrini, back on the bench, doesn't even play against Atalanta. Brian Cristante, first sits and then back into the lineup. Same thing for El Shaarawy, same thing for Matias Soule, same thing for Nikola Zaleski, who was supposed to leave the club in the summer, who was on the verge of being excluded from the team until the end of this contract, completely frozen out, was back with the team, was regularly starting games for Roma. I don't, the hierarchy in a team is pivotal. But so far, we have seen complete anarchy inside the squad. And that's a major contributor, I think, to how much this team is struggling. This is a major sign of things not working out for Roma, is when they don't know who they can count on. Lorenzo Pellegrini is your captain. Why is he sitting on the bench all game long? What message does this send? And I'm not arguing in favor of Pellegrini starting regardless of his performances, but I'm just saying, isn't that the symptom of a really sick team when a captain doesn't even come off the bench in a time of need? And we can talk about Paulo Dybala, a player that we fought tooth and nail to keep him here. And he's been anything but consistent. And he's also arguably one of the leaders of the team. So where is he? Where is Paulo Dybala? What's his contribution this season? There are flashes of brilliance, as always, with him, but is that enough in this moment when Roma are clearly struggling? That Zaniolo goal in Sele will go down as worse than Adebayor's celebration. Will go down as worse than Adebayor's goal against Arsenal. It was really, I said it on the podcast. I don't want to repeat myself, but I thought it was really quite an awful display from Zaniolo. A complete lack of self-awareness, lack of gratitude towards a club that took a chance on him and then stuck by him in injury, and even when in the worst periods of his career, when he was just a nuisance on the pitch, when he wasn't scoring, when he wasn't assisting, when he was getting a red card against Genoa. So many episodes that you could name where Roma were really there for Zaniolo, and then you go out and you celebrate like that. I don't care how you part ways with the club, you always show a bit of humility, Andy, who will be CEO? How can he work in a disastrous structure of a club? Anwin, it's this situation with the CEO remains quite unclear. Every week we hear something different. We know that there is a handful of candidates in the running. There is Sassuolo's Carnevali. There is Antonello from Inter. There was a talk of a return of Fenucci, who works for Bologna now. Now there is talk of a Sky executive called Marzio Perelli. It's unclear. I think the only thing that is there is the fact that Roma want to secure this appointment before the start of the new year. So perhaps in the next 2 weeks we'll see something different. I do think that with Claudio Ranieri having been given this sort of future position as senior executive, there is already the start of Roma trying to put things back together, the shape of a hierarchy being reinstated after the mess that was the first 2 months of this season. I do think that the Friedkins right now are working on trying to put it all back together, erase all their previous mistakes. It's going to be take a long time, and it's going to be a challenge just for anybody. I don't think it really matters at this point whether the person that will come in is an executive at another club or not. I do think that Roma, what they want to do right now is also give a clear, distinct area to operate in to Ghisolfi, then Ranieri as a club executive, then perhaps someone else will come in. So we will have to see. Obviously it's a challenge. It's a challenge to make these big changes in a season that is underway. Roma have already objectives set out for the season. They have not only sporting objectives but also financial objectives. They have things that they need to attain before the end of the season, and here they are rushing, scrambling, improvising. Some things work, some things don't work, some things stick and some things don't stick. At the end of the day, it really comes down to that damn pitch where we have to start collecting these points. It's I cannot stress enough how real Claudio Ranieri was today, because you could almost feel the finality in his words when he said December is the month where we find out who we are. It's the month of truth. We call it with John the make or break, but we usually said make or break when it was a schedule that consisted of really difficult teams. Well, we just came off 3 difficult games, and we have now a schedule that is very, very accessible. And then we have January, and January is the month where supposedly Roma will go out and reinforce themselves. They will perhaps bring in a backup striker who can give Artem Dovbyk a bit of a rest. Eldor Shomurodov is supposed to leave. There is talk of Beto from Everton. There is talk of another right back, someone who can give Zeki Salik a breather, perhaps bench him. So some kind of operation akin to Angelino last season, right? That's what Roma will want to do. But in the meantime, you have to win. You have to start scoring. You have to start winning. So all these big things, all these big changes mean nothing if you can do it on the pitch. Love the show, Andy. Oh, thank you so much, Giovanni. God bless you and John. Thank you so much, Giovanni. Perhaps they want the Sky executive because he understands communicating to the media. I don't know. I think also a lot of these news, especially about the CEO search, the rumors about it have been, you can clearly tell when a journalist is friends with the person they're writing about. Giovanni Carnevali from Sassuolo is being asked about the CEO thing every other day. Giovanni Carnevali is the Sassuolo executive who speaks to the media basically 3 times a day to different newspapers, and he's always being shown as this great guy, this great big friendly guy. And you never know how much truth there is to that, or whether it's just the media trying to build up someone's reputation. Beto or Raspadori? That's true. Raspadori from Napoli was also mentioned. Napoli keep reiterating that Raspadori is not for sale, even though the player himself wants to leave. So who knows? I do think that Raspadori would be a better choice and less costly than Beto. Beto is very expensive. I don't know how far the Friedkins want to go in January in terms of spending. Roma are not under the vigilant eye of UEFA as much as they were in the last few years, but they still have to meet the financial fair play requirements. Angelino is at fault for too many goals. I agree, but I also do think that Angelino has been tasked with too many things from the very beginning of the season. He was brilliant at the beginning of the season. Angelino was one of the best, but gradually he was giving much more to do on the pitch. He was being played as a center back. He was being told not to be as offensive minded. So a player like him was bound to start making mistakes. And yes, it's been happening consistently. I would also try. Oh no, am I seeing the name Fratesi? No, please, let's stop mentioning Fratesi. I don't want to see him being mentioned. Please, let's stop talking about this guy. It's been what? I mean, let it go. It's been what? It's been since 2016. Let it go. I don't no, stop it. I don't want to see Fratesi anymore. Um, I enjoyed watching the last three games. At least they are competitive. Yes, if we can say something as the sort of the main argument in this midseason review is that Roma have shown us nothing. Roma have shown us only the worst things imaginable at the start of this season. Like there was bar none. And even last season, the start to last season was horrendous, but this is next level. So obviously, when we look at these last three games, we start to see a team react the way a team is supposed to react. I mean, even Ranieri himself was surprised that the team was able to go blow for blow with Spurs in London on Thursday night. You know that it sort of it completely caught him off guard that the team could react as quickly as that. So perhaps the answers are simple. Perhaps there is a simple answer to the problem. Perhaps the players are capable of it. I really do hope that these three games were not flukish. I really do hope that this was not the thing that we saw with Udinese when Juric came in, and all of a sudden the team seemed to be revitalized. I really hope so. Andy, you're the man. I was recently in Bologna and put on 10 pounds. Yeah, it happens. It happens. And you know where it is? That's all in the bechamel that they use for the lasagna. God, I would die for a spinach lasagna with proper bechamel from Bologna. It's fantastic. That will put 10 pounds on you. So whoever is celebrating Christmas, New Year's in Bologna, good luck. Um, Forcing players to receive inoculations, permanent heart damage, and no longer able to play in Italy. If I were Bove, I'd call my legal team. Giovanni, I don't know if we can say anything about this at this point in time. Bove is thankfully out of intensive care. There is talk of him having to receive a defibrillator implant. So we'll see what happens then. I do think that there will be also obviously some investigation into the history. For a 22-year-old to just collapse like that, something must have gone wrong. But drawing conclusions at this moment in time is sort of is no. The problem is that we don't know who our starters are. Yes, absolutely. As Ranieri gets more games, that will iron itself out. And that's what I mean when I say hierarchy is key. It's because it is key. Because how can and that starts obviously also with the players, like someone like Leandro Paredes. Okay, I need to talk about Leandro Paredes. You know how important you are to Daniele De Rossi. Leandro Paredes' career was revitalized by De Rossi. He even admitted it himself. So many times in interviews, Paredes was basically hailing De Rossi as his savior. How do you come back from international duty in the summer? You skip preseason because you go and play Copa America. Fine. How do you come back in the shape that Paredes was in? Paredes was in, and Paredes had 10 pounds on him. Paredes had, it felt like he had gone to Bologna to eat proper lasagna and tortellini, Um, if you know that De Rossi is counting on you, if you know that you're central to the team's plans, because that's who Paredes was. Paredes was the leader. At the end of last season, Paredes is one of the best players on the pitch. Paredes leads you in that match against Bayer Leverkusen. He's not afraid to walk up to the penalty spot and take that penalty. You know that. Why do you show up in the shape that you were in? Why are you completely unusable for the first 2 months? Because you cannot tell me that it's also because Ivan Juric, he didn't see me, he didn't want to count on me. It's not that. It's also up to the players. I think what we learned from this beginning of the season with these three managers coming in is that at the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to the players. Ivan Juric was sacked after 12 games. Yes, partly because he completely mismanaged certain situations. Think about Mats Hummels. Completely mismanaged situation. Think about Matias Sule. So I I've said my piece on Ivan Juric. He's very much at fault for a lot of the things that went on, but Ivan Juric was primarily sacked because the team outright rejected him. They may not admit it in the interviews. They may say we fight for every coach. It doesn't happen that way. Um, and De Rossi's sacking was a huge blow to the team. So that influences our perception of the team on the pitch. And when we say that, oh, there is anarchy, there is no order, there is nothing. This team has no organization. Nobody knows who is starting, who is benched, why. It changes from manager to manager. Yes, hopefully, these next weeks, the team will start to put the pieces together, and there will be some order. Because otherwise, you cannot hope to build anything. You cannot hope to create consistency. You cannot hope to give continuity to results other than negative ones. Let's see. Do you think Dybala should leave at the end of the season? Oh, Lawrence, I really do. I really do. I mean, it's pretty evident. It's pretty evident. It's pretty telling that this is a player who struggles when the pace increases, when the tempo, when the pressure is on, when you're playing every 3 days, when he has to play 90 minutes in a match because the team really needs him. Dybala, as good as he is, all of a sudden he gradually starts to weaken, and it's in plain sight. I'm sorry to say that because he's been phenomenal, but I do think that this season, in hindsight, it was a mistake to keep him. Do you think Ranieri can take the chance of the winter break to evaluate and we can see more players from the Primavera? Is he the kind to give the young guys some chance? Musab, I doubt it. I really doubt that if he's not giving a chance to Sangare or Dal in the coming weeks, I doubt that he will rely on the Primavera. I do think that Ranieri wants, his primary objective is to build something out of the squad that he has at his availability. He's not looking at the Primavera. He's looking at the guys that are already on this roster. The thing about this team is that it is deep. Numerically, it's deep. Like, the options are there, but you have Saud on the bench. Theoretically, you need a fullback. You need someone to give a breather to Zeki Salik. You need someone to give a breather to Angelino. Saud would be the guy for that. That's why you signed him for. But you don't know who he is. You don't know what he can give you on the pitch. Are you going to take a chance on him right now? And that applies to Primavera players. Are you going to take a chance on them in this very difficult context? I don't know if I would do them any good. Zaniolo should have paid tribute to Bove. Well, Zaniolo should have been. I'm not going to finish the sentence, but I do find it quite shocking that a lot of the players that he played with at Roma did not do anything. The only guy who protested against the way he celebrated was Kone, a guy who came here 3 months ago. Salik is still getting minutes. Claudio must value him, but I would love to see Dal instead. The news of Alone is sad. Thoughts? Well, Martin, the news of Alone are inevitable when the guy comes in, for Djurgården's winning best Swedish youngster of the season. 3.5 million, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of promise, a lot of talk, but then he gets outright excluded from Roma's UEFA list under De Rossi. In my opinion, that was a mistake by De Rossi. But De Rossi eliminates him from the UEFA list. That is quite detrimental to a young player who, if he can hope to play, it's in the Europa League, and that is not happening for him. So obviously, talks of a loan are inevitable at this point. I do find it quite upsetting that, given the difficulties that we've encountered with the likes of Angelino, with Salik, who are clearly out of gas, we still, the situation is so tense that we cannot give these guys a chance. It's a great squad. It has holes, but when Ranieri finds the right combos, it can work. Seeing Hummels in a back three, seeing Paredes, Kone together, who knows what else Ranieri discovers. Yes, we've said it. We've said it time and time again. The decisions in the transfer market mostly worked. I like Dovbik. I like Kone. I do also like Ensolefe. I like seeing Hummels being the leader. That's what he was brought in for, to be the leader of the team. Um, but the question is, can they work something out together, not individually, together? It's really, it's a lot will depend on whether Ranieri, as opposed to Juric, whether he will be able to get into their heads. And I do think that what we've seen in these last three games exceeds what we saw under Juric. Here we're starting to see a slow flame that hopefully will build up to a proper fire soon. Not now, perhaps, but soon. I would like to hope that with Lecce, Como, Parma, Sampdoria in the next weeks, we can start to see a team finally be a team on a weekly basis. Otherwise, I don't even know if I'm going to do a review at the end of the season. There is no otherwise. You cannot go any lower than this. This is really, we've said it so many times over the years, but this really feels like this has been rock bottom this very season. Since 1979, guys, worst start to the season since 1979. So, with that in mind, guys, I will be drawing this live stream to a close. Forgive me if my voice is starting to give out. I'm just not used to this. It's been a couple of months since I've done one of these, and I wanted to thank you all for your participation. I know it's been a difficult season. I appreciate every one of you for supporting us. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, subscribe, click the like button. It really helps us. And if you would like to support the show and the website, because it's just John and I who do the work, you can consider becoming a patron by going to patreon.com/Roma Press. You can select any plan you want. Even the smallest amount really helps to push this thing together, despite what Roma keep offering us from week to week. So, as always, guys, I really wanted to thank you. I hope to do one of these soon, perhaps hopefully before the end of the year, so that we can all wish each other the best of things. In the meantime, as always, guys, thank you so much. Let's hope we can get out of this together as soon as possible. Forza Roma.